Hi there, if you're enjoying the content on my channel, please like and subscribe and join me on my further repair adventures. Thank you. Greetings, fellow repairers of Land Rovers and other things. Today we're on to the left-hand side. There's the UK vehicles, there's the passenger side. Repair for the lower front suspension arm. I've done the other side as a video, but I'm also going to record this side as well because I've made some improvements to my technique. So you can see either way, depending on what tools you got. But this is what I'm going to do now. So first things first is we will get our little plastic thing off, and then in here is our lovely staked nut on the hub nut. We're going to have to take that stake off and then undo the nut. The best way I've found to do that is to use a little 10mm spanner random thing that I've had for ages, and it just seems to sort of notch under, and then if you tap it with a hammer it will tap up the bit where it's sort of just notched over. So I'm just going to do that quickly. I'm not sure it's very exciting to watch, but so on here it's staked over down there at the bottom, and I'm just going to pop that in there, and this is just a really good, I don't know why it works so well, but it just sort of unstakes the nut nicely. That was very unhelpful. I've just recorded this bit on my camera and it didn't record, which is very annoying because I was trying to explain a few other bits. Okay, before I had a non-impact socket. This one I bought, it's a 32mm. It doesn't necessarily guarantee that your nut is a 32mm, so just check it if you are going to buy any different tools. And then I shocked it with my not very sort of powerful impact gun. Just shocked it to get it going, and then I put it on the breaker bar and just undid it, so it's now loose, and then that just sets you up for this sort of initial bit so that you're ready. This, unless, I mean, you could get someone to sit in the car and put the brakes on, but it's easier to do this with the vehicle on the ground because it takes quite a lot of torque to get it undone. You've got a plastic under tray under there, shield thing, that you need to just take off. That's 10mm bolts, so that's pretty easy to do. And then we're just going to get the car jacked up and I can get the wheel off. Remember to undo the nuts before you jack the car up as well. Then we can get going. Exciting stuff. Well, as this is a car that we know likes to keep on giving, there's something definitely going on here with the brake disc. I can feel a big lip on here. So I'm going to have to inspect that at some point. The caliper doesn't feel seized, which is mildly confusing, but I can see that the disc looks to have worn out quite unevenly, so I'm a bit worried about the disc. I need to check the minimum thickness that this could be, because if that's not right, then that's actually something that needs dealing with pretty quickly, because that's dangerous, which is good stuff. Excellent. So that'll be on my list. I just got to focus on what's relevant for now, but it's just like I said, it's like owning Forth Bridge. You start at one end and then you just keep going around until you get to the other end, and then you carry on back again. So under here we've got our rear big bush, and we've got our front fixing here, so these have got to come off. When you're underneath, you've got a nut here for the ball joint. On the Discovery 3 you can't remove the lower arm without removing this and pulling out the hub assembly a bit. So we're going to start from the outside and work in like we did on the other side. So we're going to do this and then push that, and then we're going to get the one off underneath, and then we're going to get the two bolts and nuts off at the back, and then we're going to do some markings on the washers for the alignment. So we're going to mark those just so that we get a rough idea, and then we're going to, when we take them off, we'll use what we can salvage from both sides. I want to reuse some of the bolts, and then, oh sorry, I forgot to say, we've got the suspension strut, bolt and nut to come off as well. This should be all right this time because I've taken the air out of the suspension. Last time I forgot to, and it just puts tension on the bolt. Okay, this one underneath is 24. Just gonna loosen up, see if I can just start it off. 24. Okay, it should be relatively easy to do, but I always got to make sure that it's not spinning around. Just wondering if it's got a bit threaded when I put it on last time. certainly being a bit stiff. I might just get a bit of WD-40 because it's making an awful noise. Interesting. Doesn't look terrible. It just looks, I think it just might be the slightly wrong thread of this. That's a little bit threaded at the bottom. Okay, weird. So once you've got that, you just going to give this a whack and it will release. And then we can move on. In fact, I was only going to untighten it, but actually if you're going to whack it, put this back on. Don't know why there's so much oil on this side. Very rusty on that side. When I took off the other suspension strut, or the hydraulic strut, I'd put a washer on it last time. I don't know why I did it. There wasn't one on the other side. So that was pretty stupid. And I think that didn't help with the torque. I think the torque was wrong on it, which made it much harder to remove. So goodness knows why I did that last time. Not quite sure. Maybe I thought it'd make it easier. Didn't. Okay, so if you've got a TD V6 UK model, the catalytic converter, very unhelpfully, is this lovely large thing here. And it gets a bit in the way of tightening this. I don't know how well we can see it, but definitely in the way. So just for note for that, so having a good, decent offset spanner is really helpful for this, as well as sort of various extensions and things. You can put a bit of like jack it a little bit gently, but of course it's relatively delicate thing, so you don't want to be putting a lot of force on it. So you could, I think last time I put a bit of wood underneath the end and just gave it a gentle jack, just to give me a little bit further access to that. And there's a little bit of movement in it, but you're not going to want to be putting a lot of pressure on it. So that's just one thing to note. And of course, I've done it already on the other side, but I've got my markings here. The white pens come out again, just to give me my initial setup for the suspension, so that it's going to be in roughly the correct position when we refit it. Inspection time. Okay, so this is the other side. I don't know how easy it is to see, but we are getting definite perishing on here. One thing I'll mention in a minute is about the rubber is perishing. This one doesn't look quite as bad, but doesn't look so good around the edges. And I'm not even sure it's that secure. When I did it last time, I did put some copper slip on here. Now, I maybe have put too much on. I'm not going to put any on these this time. I've not done it on the other side, for the simple reason that I don't think this stuff necessarily helps with the suspension staying stable. I bought this thing on eBay to help me get the drive shaft out, and it's basically really useless. It came in a broken box and missing this bit, so I thought I'd improvise, but it doesn't even fit on the sort of, doesn't even fit on here. I mean, it's only really cheap. I only want to use it like once, but there's not enough thread. It's not wide enough to get on this, so I'm just not very happy about that. And you can see the drive shaft, I've dropped it down there this time just to get it right out of the way. It's funny how when you do things like you do the other side, it felt easier on the other side, and then this side it feels harder, just because it's all back to front. obviously the stronger side of your body benefits. I think I'm just going to give everything a bit of a clean up in here to make sure there's no copper slip anymore, and just then go reassemble really, because I want to get this back together sooner rather than later, and then we'll go from there. So this is not such an in-depth video, but just showing a different bit from the other side. Definitely stressed a bit more to get this one out. Drive shaft came out pretty easily. The only other thing I can say about the drive shaft spleen thing that you've got to pull out is that if you get, what I did is there's a bit of a lip on it. So I came in here onto this bolt and just very gently pried it. And because they've been out before, when I've done the real wheel bearings, the drive shafts aren't really tight, even though they get put in tight when you tighten them up. But just did that, and it kind of, no hammering or anything, just with the crowbar, and it did just allow it to move and pop out. So yeah, I think you find if someone's never replaced anything, this would all be much harder, and I'm benefiting from the fact that I have messed about with all this kind of stuff before. So I do think it's easier. If you've left them like 20 years and not done them, then I think you're probably going to struggle a bit more. But there you go. So that's not so old, that arm over there. It's a genuine one, but it hasn't aged very well. Okay, I've got my best of both worlds here. I've got everything together that I'm going to recycle. So, okay, quick confession. I thought I was doing this out of genuinely saving, you know, buying new parts, but maybe I was being cheap. But word of warning, I reused these big cam washers on this side. This is the left side, and it's not working when I tried to adjust the camber. So just a word of warning. In my experience, recycling those has not worked, and now the actual bolt spins around and I've got to replace them. So I've had to buy another set, and I'll be doing that at some point. Joy. Oh, it's windy. Right, so I'm running out of time a bit here, so I've got to get this fitted before much longer. Oh, too weak. Yeah. Ugh. Put some cardboard under here so that we don't get damage on the arm before we've even done anything with it. First of all, you want to get it in here, so we'll do that first. Right, get this out of the way. I'll just use my leg to keep that out of the way. So I just got to get this to hook in first. That's the most annoying bit, really. Stupid arm. Sure was easier when it popped up the other way. Okay. Right, cool. So once the board's in, so get itself in there a bit. You're kind of getting into a position where you can just pull this back. Excellent. And then what we basically got to do is pull everything back so that this fella here will slot in, and just make sure everything is in position, which I'm not winning at. I might just put a nut on there just to stop it sliding out again. The problem is it's awkward. A bit like my videos. You don't want the drive shaft from stopping you from putting it in. Okay. So that's it. Hallelujah. So once you've done that, probably want to think about getting the drive shaft in as well. That's a good point though. Just realised that is not the right way to do it. I actually do want the drive shaft, don't I? Once you've got that in, I'm going to put the drive shaft in as well. Otherwise we're kind of going in the wrong direction. So you've got to pull it out, get it into the hole, thread it back in. That's an awkward thing, but there is a hole somewhere in there. Up a bit higher. Come on. Oh, go in. Yes, stupid thing. Working backwards without being able to see what I'm doing. Okay. Oh, see, mind your hands, all that jazz. Okay, that's better. So get your dry shaft in, then pull this out. That goes in nicely, and we get our bolts and just slide them in, just so that we are positioned. This is all just trial fitting, so then washer and then bolt for these ones. Nothing's tightened up. And then we have got the new there you go, dry shaft nut, which can go on, assuming I'm holding the camera in the right place. So that just goes on, and then we kind of, that's it, we kind of initially installed. So that's good. This one didn't defeat me either. I'm kind of happy with my progress today. I did start this quite late in the day because I was doing other stuff. So now we are sort of in a position where we can finish it off tomorrow. Right, we made good progress last night, but when I was looking here, this doesn't look quite as good and as pronounced as on the other side. So I'm a little bit upset about that, but I don't know whether there's any way to cure it. I might just take the arm out and have a look and see whether that could be hammered and pushed out a bit more. It looks like just when the suspension's been adjusted in the past, it's maybe just got on top of this lip and pushed it down a bit, or worn it, which I don't like. So I know I don't really want to disassemble anything, but I might just do that to have a look and see whether there's something on that, sort of on the side where the bush is, whether you could just put something through and sort of hammer it and maybe push this out a bit, but I'm not sure. But it's probably worth inspecting just to improve the alignment ability here, because it's, although it's there, it's not as solidly defined, which I'm not quite as happy about. Well, it's very exciting. I've got my new Halfords Pro wrench, torque wrench. I set it to 85 foot-pounds, or 100, I think it's 115-ish Newton meters. I'll make sure I'm going the right way. So I've got to turn it. I've got to turn it that way, and there's an arrow on the handle, so it's got to go that way. So I've got to push this thing up in order to enable me to do that. Just pop my socket on and then see whether we can get what kind of clicking sound it makes. Alright, so this is only 85, this one. It's longer than my other torque wrench, so hopefully it's easier a bit. Click. Right, nice positive click, click, click. Okay, we're going to see whether I can get this up to, so a piece of paper, what does it say? So it says this chappy should be 275 Newton meters, or 203 foot-pounds, or pound-feet rather. Oh, excellent. Basically what I've done so far, just to say, is tighten this up as tightly as I could possibly by hand, and then this is the bit where we're going to try and see whether we can just nudge the torque wrench onto there. Okay, I don't like to admit defeat with this side, but I just cannot. I can't get the anything on it that's good enough to really do any torquing. The problem is that you've got to use a long socket because of the protruding threads on the bolt itself, and then just there's not much movement in the catalytic converter. You've got to be careful, obviously. You're not going to jack it too hard or it will get damaged. And then once you've got it on there, you can't get the head of the torque wrench on there anyway. Okay, so this is the one I'm slightly drilling because this has got to go up to 300 and it's the other way, so I've got to be pulling up, which I'm not quite as good at. There you go. Make sure you're positioned around the right way. See if we can do this one. Definitely easier with a longer bar. Oh, 300. Wow. That's it. I'm not trying anymore. Cool. 300. Well, I never. So we need to be torquing up these bolts. And the reason I get a bit twitchy about these is if you over torque them, they kind of kill the bearings earlier, which is why you shouldn't over torque them. So it's my fault that I didn't do it. So I've actually, this is now the passenger side UK vehicle, but I've gone on to the other side and I've retorqued everything correctly because I wasn't happy about the suspension, whatever you call it, strut thing being, I think that was over tightened, and you just don't want everything kind of crazy tight. And then obviously on this side I was originally able to torque it all correctly because I had the torque wrench at that point. So I've gone to the other side, I've unstaked the hub nut, retorqued it, and I think it was to a certain degree over torqued. So that's where I've got to now, and so what we're going to do is just do this properly on this side now, and then I know both sides are correctly torqued. It's not always essential to torque every single thing, but sometimes there are certain nuts and bolts you've got to really be careful about, and I think this is probably one of them, and also various bits on the suspension because it's a very critical component on the car. So this is 230 Newton meters. There you go, click, click. Not too high, and then just got to take the wheel off again, stake it. There you go. One staked nut, and when you're happy, put everything back together. I mean, this is it now, we're done. So I've got to put the wheel back on, torque up the nuts, and then that's it. I've done my whole front lower suspension arms. As you'll notice, something else has appeared in this video, but that's a separate video coming later.